Here's a scenario for you. A contractor signs into your corporate OneDrive on a personal laptop. They download the bid folder, and suddenly your confidential documents now live beside holiday selfies and questionable PDF conversion software. Within a few seconds, OneDrive auto-syncs that downloads folder to their personal OneDrive. Now your M&A strategy document just walked into a cloud you don't own or control. Welcome to the reality of BYOD. Now, of course, in a perfect world, we'd just lock everything down. No threats, no data loss, no grey hairs. But that's not reality, is it? Instead, we're fielding logins from personal laptops and the family iPad with a cracked screen. And here's the thing, work lives in SaaS now, and employees expect access from any device at any time from anywhere. And they're getting it, with over 95% of organizations now allowing personal devices in some capacity, with 68% reporting improved productivity as a result. And that's great flexibility. It's not so great when you're the one tasked with preventing sensitive data from waltzing out the front door. So how do we solve this? Most organizations have tried everything. VDI and VPNs that users actively avoid, clientless web portals that look like SharePoint circa 2007, locking down SaaS so tightly that BYOD becomes a dirty word, even repurposing remote browser isolation, hoping it could keep users safe and happy. But the truth is, most of us either accept the BYOD risk or quietly ignore it. Not by choice, but by necessity, because there hasn't been a real solution to this problem until now. Most of this activity isn't malicious, it's convenience, a side effect of users trying to stay productive when security gets in the way. And we've normalized it because until now, fixing it killed the user experience. But hang on, don't we have Security Service Edge or SSE now? Shouldn't that handle BYOD? SSE is brilliant when the device is managed. Agent on, traffic steered, clouds with padlocks on them, perfect. But BYOD breaks this model. No agent, no steer, no inspection. And personal laptops still reach the same SaaS apps, just without the safeguards. And let's be honest, most people won't install a corporate agent on their own device, even if you ask nicely. Some vendors tried repurposing remote browser isolation as a band-aid. RBI was originally built for one job, opening risky links in a sacrificial cloud browser so malware never touches the endpoint. And it works so well for dangerous sites that vendors thought, why not use it for SaaS apps too? Enter cloud browser isolation. Same streaming technology, now aimed at your everyday work apps. Stream the browser session from the cloud. No sensitive data touches the endpoint, only pixels. Sounds perfect, right? Until you actually use it. No device visibility. Clunky controls that can't tell the difference between copying meeting notes and dumping your entire customer database. And the user experience? Every click has that split-second delay. The mouse cursor floats like it's underwater. It's like trying to watch Netflix through your neighbor's window. Technically it works, but it's obvious it's not your screen. And nobody's happy about it. The real answer? Well, what's the one app used in nearly every BYOD scenario? The place where users authenticate, access systems, and move data in and out. That's right, the browser. And here's a stat that drives that home. Employees spend 85 to 90% of their workday in the browser. It's the one constant, the gateway to SaaS, and a privileged perch quietly sitting between your users and your most valuable data. If you can control the browser, you can control the session without needing to control the device. And this is exactly why the enterprise browser has emerged. And it's not just a niche idea. Gartner predicts that by 2028, 25% of organizations will be using enterprise browsers to secure remote access and BYOD. So let's say we've agreed. The browser is our answer to this problem. But one puzzle still remains. Users are on the internet on a device that we don't control, and SaaS apps are also on the internet. How do I route that session through an enterprise browser and not whatever browser the user already uses? Well, thankfully, the answer is simple. And the best thing, you don't need to rip and replace anything. You simply leverage the identity provider you're already using, whether that's Okta, Entra, whatever, and use conditional access policies you probably already have configured to redirect unmanaged devices into the secure browser. So let's see all this in action. Fair warning, I'm going to switch into demo mode now, complete with company polo and a healthy dose of Kool-Aid. So let's start with what it looks like for a user logging into OneDrive on plain old Chrome and how we steer them to the Prisma Access browser. As this user, who works at my fictitious company Evereast, signs into corporate OneDrive, they're told that while their sign-in details were correct, they need to download the Prisma Access browser to access Evereast applications. After a small download and quick installation, they're ready to work. Hang on, install something? I thought you said BYOD users don't want agents on their device. That's right, I did, but here's the critical distinction. We are securing the session without traditional, persistent, and invasive security agents. There are no system-level hooks, no local admin required, no kernel monitoring. We aren't watching everything the user does on their personal device. We are simply providing a secure sandboxed application for them to do their work in. And as you will see as we progress through the demo, it's an application they've already got muscle memory with anyway. After the user signs in via SSO, they go through a quick and easy onboarding workflow, which includes allowing them to import their existing bookmarks from their browser of choice. They are then greeted with a branded welcome page, which has endless customization options to match your company's brand and applications. And if this looks familiar to you, well, that's because it's built on Chromium, the same foundation as Chrome and Edge and several other browsers, which means users already know how to use it. But you will notice some differences. One is within the device posture status screen. Thanks to the browser being on the endpoint, we can gather information about the user machine's posture and use that context in policy. You'll also notice this label here, which educates the user on the various rules in place for different sites to keep both enterprise data and their personal data safe. And as we go along the demo, you'll see some of these powerful controls in action. So with that, let's revisit the scenario I highlighted at the start of the video with sensitive data leaving OneDrive. Right away, you can see our first layer of protection in action, dynamic watermarking. It subtly embeds our company logo and, more importantly, my username across the page. This is our answer to the most dangerous data theft tool on the planet, the mobile phone camera. You can't stop someone from taking a picture, but you can make them think again when their name is literally part of the evidence. But watermarks are a soft control. What about a hard block? I'll try to download that same sensitive file from earlier. And there it is. The browser stops the download dead in its tracks. And this isn't some cryptic access denied pop-up. This is a clear, branded notification that explains to the user exactly what was blocked and why. But let's say this user needs help with a VLOOKUP formula in Excel and dumps 300 rows of customer data into ChatGPT. That PII isn't just viewed, it's ingested, potentially becoming a permanent part of a global AI model completely outside of your control. Well, you'll see that this is blocked because we've set policy within Prisma Access Browser to stop copy-paste of sensitive data into risky Gen AI apps like ChatGPT. Simple enough, right? Well, this is table stakes for an enterprise browser. Cloud browser isolation can do most of this as well. But let's make this a bit more interesting and push the browser a little bit harder. This user also leverages corporate OneDrive for their personal data. Should we also place restrictions on these files and content? Well, as you can see, downloading this personal bookmarks file, the browser understands the content of this file isn't sensitive due to the sensitivity label, so the download goes through just fine. The browser also understands the content of the clipboard as well. So if we try and copy paste some non-sensitive data into ChatGPT, this also goes through just fine. Prisma Access Browser is smart enough to detect sensitive data like social security numbers pasted into riskier sites like ChatGPT, but lets harmless stuff go through. Okay, but what if someone just types the sensitive data manually? Fair call, let's try it. As I try and type in this credit card number, you'll see the browser block this thanks to typing restrictions. And in this case, I can send a request to an admin for an exception if required. And what about copying sensitive data out of the browser into something like Notepad? Well, this is also blocked. The browser can protect data leaving through any route. And when users do need to work with sensitive data in legitimate business apps like Word, that's perfectly fine. The browser knows the difference. We want guardrails here, not straitjackets. And here's something worth calling out. All of this inspection happens directly in the browser, not at the network level like we're all probably used to. This unlocks last mile data controls that network inspection simply can't see. And here's the kicker, no SSL decryption required. So to all of you warriors out there who've battled SSL decryption and lost, it's not your fault. There is a better way. What about the dreaded screenshot of sensitive data? Or that Teams meeting where someone accidentally shares their screen with critical source code from Confluence visible. Prisma Access Browser handles this too, with screen sharing prevention. It's smart enough to detect when screens are being captured or shared. And in fact, it knows I'm recording my screen right now. But watch what happens when I toggle the protection off so you can see the actual page. Look, we could spend hours going through all the capability Prisma Access Browser has. Data masking, step-up MFA, tenant controls, plus all the Palo Alto Network security DNA you'd expect, like advanced wildfire and advanced URL filtering. But you get the idea. The browser understands context and protects data. Now here's where it gets interesting. As it turns out, this browser doesn't just do data controls, it also handles private web apps, and wait for it, our good old friend RDP. Yes, that RDP. Alright, so let's see how Prisma Access Browser handles private web applications. As I open PeopleSoft, which is hosted in my private data center, you'll see the user gets notified that they're accessing a private app. And thanks to a native integration with Prisma Access, this user can access this private app with the appropriate data controls to protect it. And just to prove there's no smoke and mirrors here, watch what happens when I try the same app in regular Chrome. It goes nowhere. But what about those legacy applications still trapped within VDI? Well, the browser integrates with our privileged remote access solution for RDP, SSH, and VNC. Pretty convenient timing considering recent acquisitions in the VDI space are driving everyone's renewal costs through the roof. Less reliance on expensive VDI? That's a conversation your CFO will love. Let me take off the company polo for a minute and talk to you as someone who's been in your shoes. How often in security do we get to be the heroes instead of the villains? We're usually the Department of No, the fun police, the people who make work harder. And SASE started to change that narrative, but BYOD was still our Achilles heel. Enterprise browsers finally lets us say yes. Yes to personal devices. Yes to productivity. Yes to cost savings. Imagine walking into your next board meeting talking about enabling the business instead of restricting it, about reducing VDI costs while improving security. That's a different conversation entirely. Want to see how this applies to your specific situation? We've documented 10 real-world use cases, from securing contractor access to replacing VDI, at the link in the description. Find the one that matches your biggest pain point and see exactly how an enterprise browser could help.